Phoenix Suns owner Robert Sarver is accused of overseeing an organization that many employees have described as toxic and sometimes hostile. Holmes interviewed more than 70 former and current Suns employees who have been part of the team throughout Sarver's 17-year tenure. According to the report, Sarver has used racially insensitive and lewd language repeatedly in the office and displayed conduct employees describe as inappropriate and misogynistic. Multiple current and former employees also told ESPN about conduct by other members of Suns leadership team that they felt contributed to the work environment. Now, while none said Sarver was involved in those incidents, many felt that Sarver's own conduct contributed to a culture that affected how some other managers within the organization treated their employees. Here's more from Baxter Holmes.
The Phoenix Suns, for the first time in 28 years, are going back to the NBA Finals.
The Phoenix Suns began this season as defending Western Conference champions, a team riding high with the veteran presence of all-time great Chris Paul, a young star in Devin Booker, a top coach in Monty Williams, and reigning Executive of the Year, James Jones. But an ESPN investigation has revealed that the Suns' success on the court has emerged alongside a sometimes toxic and hostile workplace under majority owner Robert Sarver. More than 70 current and former employees interviewed by ESPN recounted conduct by Sarver they felt was inappropriate and misogynistic, including the use of the N-word and lewd comments made during staff meetings. Former Suns head coach Earl Watson told ESPN that Sarver once used the slur after a game. "You know, why does Draymond Green get to run up the court and say N-word?" Sarver, who is white, allegedly said, repeating the N-word several times in a row. "You can't say that," Watson, who is black and Hispanic, told Sarver. "Why?" Sarver replied. "Draymond Green says N-word." "You can't expletive say that," Watson said again. Sarver denied he used the N-word through his legal team, saying this is absolutely untrue. Sarver said he talked with a Suns player who had received a technical foul during the game for using the N-word, questioning why he had received a technical when other players who say it do not. The player, through his agent, told ESPN that he does not recall speaking to Sarver that night. "I've never called anyone or any group of people the N-word, or referred to anyone or any group of people by the N-word, either verbally or in writing." Multiple Suns employees also recounted inappropriate conduct from Sarver, such as him once passing around a picture of his wife in a bikini to employees and speaking about sex with his wife. "We're passing it around like a hot potato. Like, what in the hell are we supposed to do with this? That was just, one early glimpse at the man." Sarver, through his legal team, told ESPN the moment has been twisted into something more nefarious than it was, and that he has never discussed his sex life in the office. "A retailer sent my wife and me a sample along with a brochure, and I took a picture of her in the sample. I took the brochure and picture of her and gave it to the people at the Suns in charge of overseeing merchandise with the message, 'Here's the catalog, this is what the swimsuit looks like, and if you have any interest in carrying this line in the team shop, then here's the number to call.'" Multiple current and former employees also told ESPN about conduct by other members of the Suns leadership team that they felt contributed to the work environment. While none said Sarver was involved in those incidents, many felt that Sarver's own conduct contributed to a culture that affected how some other managers within the organization treated their employees. They said they don't know how no one has ever been held accountable. If the commissioner comes in and investigates to see what the expletive is going on in Phoenix, he would be appalled. Jason Rowley, president and CEO of the Suns, defended Sarver. "This story is completely outrageous and false. It doesn't represent at all the Robert Sarver I've worked alongside of for 15 years. He's not a racist and he's not a sexist."
Horrible allegations coming out of Phoenix this morning. You can read more of Baxter Holmes' piece about the Suns organization by going to ESPN.com or the ESPN app, as we welcome in Baxter out there in LA for us. And Baxter, this has been a year-long investigation. What more can you tell us about what current and former employees within the Suns organization have shared with you?
One of the most striking things that I will carry with me for a long time was how a simple question led to so many very disturbing stories. And that question was, for current employees, what is it like working there? And for past employees, what was it like working there? And people would share stories that were so striking in how similar they were for people who had never worked in the same department, maybe were a decade apart, but they would talk about aspects of the culture, conduct by those above them. You'd hear terms like, certainly racism, misogyny. You'd hear terms like verbal abuse, harassment, and so on. And again, from so many levels throughout the organization over such a long period of time, it was really striking how similar these stories were.
Yeah, you used the term decade there. That's a time gap. So what are current and former employees saying about why this behavior has been allowed to continue?
This is a huge question, and for as many questions as I've asked, I have to say that current and former staffers have asked me this question perhaps just as much. And it's played out alongside them watching investigations that have taken place into the Dallas Mavericks and their workplace, or into the Los Angeles Clippers regarding their owner. People there have wondered, quite simply, why not us? And I know it said in the TV piece there, a current business employee saying that people, if there was an investigation, that the commissioner would be appalled. But there has certainly been this question of, where has the failure been? Why has no one investigated, not just saying necessarily the NBA, but anyone? How has this been able to go on for so long without anyone being held to account?
Yeah, it's worth pointing out, too, the culture right now that you reported on, that is reportedly been going on within the Phoenix Suns organization. Baxter, this is just when the Suns turned from a doormat franchise under Sarver's tenure to now a championship caliber team. How has that culture affected what is being built in Phoenix right now in terms of a basketball team?
Well, you mentioned, a year-long investigation, and certainly when I started this, the team was, coming off the heels of a 10-year playoff drought, often at the very bottom of the league, picking high in the draft every year. And I was certainly curious, with the team's success coming off of the bubble and into the success they had in the postseason, reaching the finals, if the culture would change. And quite honestly, I was struck by how current staffers would describe that, in fact, and it's mentioned in the piece, that it's lower than it's ever been, because many of these same elements of the culture of the workplace, the behaviors and conduct that they've witnessed and endured, are existing while there's excitement around the team. And they're noticing it from fans and others, and yet they're still having to endure what they've endured for many years, as they recall. And the term that so many of them have used is simply, it's bittersweet.
Baxter, I'm curious, you used the term there when speaking to current staffers. Does that include current players?
I can't speak about some of the individuals that I've talked to. I can only really stick to what's in the story. But again, I would emphasize with respect to the workplace that even as the team was making its run through the playoffs and the finals, hearing what was going on behind the scenes and how people were feeling about it, again, the term bittersweet came up a lot, and just that people were not able to feel that they were able to, enjoy in what was a resurgent season after such a long drought for the team.
We'll continue to follow this story throughout this edition of SportsCenter. Breaking just now. And again, to read the full article on the Suns organization, go to ESPN.com or the ESPN app. Baxter, thank you for your reporting. So how will the league office react to this story within the Suns organization? Woj will join us with more on that angle momentarily.
Also coming up on SportsCenter, number 4, Oregon feeling good after the initial college football playoff rankings. Why they should be very careful, though, this weekend against Washington. And after a brutal loss to the Titans on Sunday, how Carson Wentz and the